Alright guys, so the last one for this week, this is actually, it's deceptively simple. So if we download that file, it says patterns on it. We open that up. So there are 3 patterns here, and they are just examples. You're not meant to use these, so I'm already going to make like a new layer and call it my pattern 1. And these are also from OpenClipArt, and it says, these are examples only. Create 2 patterns of your own. At least one must involve curved lines. So now that we know a bunch of different ways to create things, rather than tracing stuff, I wanted you guys to make your own something. And so what I mean by pattern is this. You can tell that this is, a couple of circles, a couple of curved lines, and if I... Whoop. Had something in the clipboard before. There we go. If I move this around, and if I'm careful, you can see I can easily make a pretty good sized pattern, repeating pattern out of this. Now this is pretty complex. I don't necessarily expect you guys to have something like this to repeat. But what you can do is build with simple shapes. So if we use the ellipse tool and I hold down Shift, I get, whoop, there we go. I get a circle, and then I can use the line tool to create straight lines that go through it. And you can see I'm using these guide markers. Well, nope, that's in the wrong spot. There we go. There we go. You can see all those little green guide markers that come up, and they tell me where I can go to line up in the middle. And then in order to get the 45s, I do need to copy, like Control C, paste in place, Control Shift V, and then rotate while holding down Shift. And the reason I have to copy and paste them is because it's not really plausible to I can draw along a 45 easily, but what I can't do is have it line up with the exact middle of between here and here. Like that's not, it can't, there's nothing here on the circle. If I move the circle over for a second, there's no anchor points there for it to line up against. So in some cases I can draw the 90-degree lines pretty easily because there are anchor points along the circle to line up with. But the 45s I need to just copy and paste. So part of this is, using simple shapes to create something a little bit more complex. Part of this is being careful with how you place things. So this is fine, or if you want to make something, it doesn't have to be symmetrical. I, by all means, would not require that. But what I don't want to see, or, so you can have something like this. There we, oh, I gotta move that down. You can see how things are kind of sticking out from the edges a little bit. So here's another pattern. It's asymmetrical, but it looks pretty intentional, right? Like it's, there's an interesting shape going on here. The top and bottom are still symmetrical. It's just that it's asymmetrical from the side. What we don't want to see is this little bit hanging off here, or like, it's kind of off a little bit. Here we go. So what you want to be careful about is having things that are off and it's not intentional looking. This looks like they're trying to be part of the center, but I missed. And that's very different from intentionally putting things, there we go, right? Intentionally off-centering things so that they are asymmetrical. So be careful of things like that. Be careful of little things like this. You can use your subselection tool to kind of bring that down. Make sure, yep, make sure things are lining up properly. This is crossing right between here, so that's nice. And then what I can do is I can copy this, Control Shift V, and if I hold down Shift, not only is it going to slide along this one axis and not move elsewhere, but it's going to snap when it gets to the end. By default, this program, there we go, and you can see the line right there, meaning they're lining up. This program likes to line things up. Here's another trick. So I get 3 of these in a row. I can then copy all of these, Control Shift V, and I don't have to reline up 3 more. I'm just lining, like individually, I can line 3 up like this. And then if I really want to, right, so kind of connecting these, and these are snapping. There we go. So that's how we can start to create a pattern that once you expanded it much further than this, it can start to look very interesting. So it's about repetition. It's about using simple things to create something interesting. It can be a pattern kind of however you want. These are all straight lines right here. You can see it's just a couple of triangles and a bunch of straight lines, and this tiles really easily. It can also be, as long as it's repetitive, this is actually very complex, but this could repeat as if it was wallpaper pretty easily. And you just have to pay attention to... whoop. There we go. Right? So, however you want to create these, it's a little bit more open-ended. You'll notice that these assignments get more and more open-ended as you go. Make sure you're saving often. Also, it says up here that one of these 2 must involve curved lines. So, like this is really cool, but working with straight lines is a little bit easier than working with curved lines. So I want at least one of them to have curved shapes in them. Do you need to use the pen tool on all of them? Actually, no. Whatever way is best for you to draw these things, by all means, that's how you can draw them. So pen tool might be great for something like this. Doesn't need to be used for something like this. This is all line segments. So we're getting to the point where it's up to you how you put things together. All right, and of course, as always, make sure that you grab the text tool right here and put your name, sign your name somewhere so that I can see it, so that when I download it, I know whose it is. It also helps if you put your name in the name of the file, but I'll settle for it being in here. All right, and when you are done with all 3 of them, you would go to, week 2, you go to where it says week 2 and you see the 3 assignments, and then on the bottom it says week 2 submission. Alright, and you can go to browse my computer, and honestly I think mine are all still sitting in the downloads page, which is shame on me. Let's see, pen tool shapes, and the pattern is somewhere else, so let's, oh, there it is. So I say open. And maybe I can write, I had a hard time with the outlines section. So maybe I had a hard time with that one part that you download outlines from OpenClipArt, and that means I'll be able to see where you're having the problem and help you address it. And hit submit, and make sure you wait until you get to the there it is, until this page, because the larger the files get, the little bit longer it takes to upload. It shouldn't take too long. See, this is how I'm going to see things. I'm going to see all 3 files, and then it tells me what you had to say about it. All right, and remember, you can always resubmit in my classes as long as you get them in on time the first time and completed. And if you have any questions, please email me now, not later. Thank you.